path-breaking design for AGI, Part 6, Information. Information as bits of data confuses the concept of information with an unit of its measure. That brain uses 5 bytes, directs attention to storage, not the brain. Intelligent beings like AGI are required to deal with and process information effectively in a variety of unexpected and unanticipated situations and contexts. Humans have this ability, and it is the purpose of this video to show that the processing of information is subjective and not an objective operation on bits. So, what is information? Must it have a subjective representation? Does it belong in the subjective ontology that we discussed in a previous video? To answer these questions, it is essential to have a better understanding of the nature of perceptions we have been discussing throughout this series. We will note further that any information must necessarily cause changes in perceptual states. Subjectivity of information. Any external or internal information incapable of changing our perceptual states would make us blind to that information. This makes information subjective. Information affects and is affected by perceptions. A change in perception is an information event. Perceptions cannot change without a causative event. The information causing the change could be externally or internally produced. A change in perceptions could therefore have a cascading effect. The changed perception could create new information that changes more perceptions and so on. The subjectivity is amplified by the cascading effect as seen from this example. People were watching apples fall, long before Newton. However, his unique set of perceptions on planetary motion were the first to be affected by the falling apple. This implies that information assimilation requires not only the possession of the right set of perceptions, but also the subjective capacity to notice their change of state. Sensory and non-sensory perceptions. Perceptions are very diverse, covering the entire spectrum of all our thoughts. They are loosely based on concepts, and can have continuous or discrete states. The continuous states are usually associated with sensory data that can be updated objectively. The discrete ones often require subjective evaluation before updating. Feedback control of continuous perceptual states, objectively, under PCT, differs significantly from the effect of subjective change of state, in the discrete case. Like the quality and the range of available perceptions, the number of available states and the subjective ability to distinguish between states could affect behavior. However, both perceptions and their discrete states may be faulty. This may be due to incomplete information, misinformation, or even mistaken processing. Non-sensory perceptual states are particularly susceptible to incorrect updates through poor quality information. The resulting unreliability must be managed well. Being perceptive. Being perceptive is generally considered an intelligent trait. A perceptive person will be able to gather more information from the same data. But how? If one has more number of states associated with each perception, more transitions will be possible. This implies a higher capacity to sense useful information. For example, you may perceive that your car has a carburetor problem. However, a technician, using the same data, may be able to perceive a lot more than that. The above example helps distinguish between breadth and depth of learning. Acquiring new perceptions gives the breadth, while the ability to recognize the information that allows various state transitions gives depth in learning. However, learning through subjective experience, while it appears to be the only way to learn, does not appear to be the best way to learn if the information flow essential for learning is, either deliberately or inadvertently, incomplete or faulty. Defensive learning. In the age of misinformation and disinformation, defending against the prospect of developing faulty perceptions and perceptual states is of paramount importance. A given perception may be contained in several clusters dealing with several tasks. Therefore, faulty perceptions could negatively impact several tasks and solutions. Humans don't always say, do, feel, and think the same. The ratification of new perceptions acquired from such sources, therefore, becomes necessary. Even our own senses could mislead us, like in optical illusions. We have already seen consciousness has mechanisms to deal with contradictions. Similarly, information about new perceptions should be properly scrutinized first. Faulty perceptions, once acquired, are very hard to be rid of. This is because some important perceptions are protected from modifications. This mechanism serves the useful purpose of avoiding damaging, cascading changes in clusters. Summary. For data to become information, a subject's perceptual state must be changed. If the subject lacks the perceptions or the ability to switch to a different state, any further processing of the data in a meaningful way will not be possible. Once the data is converted to information by the subject's perception system, further processing may generate more data that may again be treated as information by other affected perceptions, to produce a pattern of thoughts. With this, the proposed design covers all the major features of the framework. The short videos are meant to be an introduction to the different elements, and to demonstrate how hard representational problems may be addressed in the design. Problems, solutions, tasks, knowledge, information, subjectivity, behavior, emotions, consciousness, humor, creativity, all have simple representations in the framework. However, the design, I am sure, is far from perfect. My hope and intentions are only to generate interest in the ideas that appear most promising, and to arrive at a consensus for the design. The enormous task of creating AGI requires cooperation. Thank you for your interest in this noble cause, to fulfill our purpose.